so far away. Ever since you said those words to me.
Hey, I'm not used to these always working. Thank you so much for coming on, this is amazing. Are many of you makers? Hands up if you're a maker of some description, illustrator. Okay. Blimey, right, that was really good, that's really helpful. Don't be afraid to grill me on some of my old man views within the film later. It'd be really good to have your questions and any kind of queries or anything you disagree with. It's healthy conversation. Travelling around the country with this, the best thing is doing the Q&A, so don't be afraid. We've got a great panel and it'll be really good to hear your thoughts, whether some things you disagree with or some things are right, and just to hear your ideas going forward. So I look forward to hearing your questions after the film.
Without further ado, I would like everyone on the stage to introduce yourselves and say why I invited you here this evening, just in case some of these other people know who you are.
Okay, I'm Anthony Peters, I'm the co-director of the film, and I'm actually from a graphic design and illustration background. So, yeah, that's why.
I'm Andy Gray, I'm co-founder, owner of Colours May Vary in Leeds, and an art librarian at Leeds Art College.
I'm the same as Andy Gray, but I'm Becky Palfrey, and I study history of art, but I'm not a practitioner, but we own a shop that sells graphic art, and that's our major passion. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Matthew. I'm an illustrator and graphic artist, and I write poems, and I'm an educator as well.
Alright, I'm Abbas. I graduated from Leeds College of Art. I studied graphic design. I recently set up a studio that specialises in branding and creative direction called Alphabet. Not to be confused with Google, who stole the name, by the way. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Cool. Next question, because that was the easy one to get you started. Anthony, what compelled you? Filmmaking's hard. It takes time and money. So what compelled you to make a film?
It's a bit naive to begin with, to be fair. I have a friend who's a filmmaker, well, he makes corporate films, and another friend who works with filmmakers to program film festivals, and I was working with Print Club London on a summer screen show, and I did a poster for Raising Arizona, and I realised that they were filming loads of my heroes. You know, it's fairly rudimentary filming. And I realised all the films I loved, like Beautiful Losers and Helvetica and stuff, told this bigger story, and that no one was telling this bigger story of post-2000 sort of DIY creativity in the UK. So I contacted both these friends, we've run record labels and things like that before, so we've done things before, so we should know better. And I just said we should make this film, and it's been 2.5 years, and it's been a very long process. So I'm 2.5 years behind on illustration and graphic design scene now as well, because I've just been on this for 2.5 years. So yeah, well, I just felt there's a story that could be told. There's a million stories. I'm sure everybody in here feels like there are people that have missed out, or people that could have been in it, or a different direction that could have been told. And you know, it'd be good if more stories like this were told. So.
And in terms of the film, then, Matt, how familiar does it feel? I mean, you entirely could be one of the people who was in there. I think your career path kind of fits quite well. How familiar did it feel, kind of, to watch it on screen?
Yeah, I would say it did feel familiar. A lot of those people, I mean, Anthony mentioned heroes before, a lot of those people were people I, as a student in 2002, was looking up directly to, like Adrian Johnson and Peep Show. And then since then, I've kind of got to know them through kind of conventions and events and stuff. So there's that kind of crossover. In a way, I would say they mentored me, but at the same time, they were kind of blazing a trail that I was really keen to kind of pick up and follow. So seeing that kind of captured and documented is great, and I think what I really liked was the range of speakers. So you had like Bergman, or even like Fred Deakin talking about Airside, like really early stuff. that kind of pinpoints a sort of a genesis of digital image making, all the way to a Jupiter who's really recent and doing some quite interesting stuff. I think it's just really important that this is documented in terms of a movement and a boom of graphic arts, and obviously we've heard all the reasons why there's been a boom. I think it's important that we identify that that's come about because of the approach of certain practitioners. In particular, I think Burrell in there as well is a really key one.
And I think talking about the boom, it feels as though in Leeds, I remember I studied at college about a decade ago. I think I felt a lot more back then that there was an expectation that you moved to London, that there was more of a kind of impetus to move, maybe Manchester, but certainly move away from the city, whereas now it kind of feels like actually there's a lot of people like Alice sort of choosing to stay here and develop business, and Becky and Andy, like you pulled us from a very so much more than a bookshop, you're curating work, you're commissioning. How does it feel in Leeds at the moment? Because this is all kind of from the outside. Why have you kind of chosen to make this city work, and is it working?
I think Becky said right at the start, it's about passion. We're really into what we sell. I think we wouldn't open a shop and stock the things we do if we didn't absolutely love them. So the shop was a name for like years. We had pictures of it. We badly draw pictures of it, and then when we got the chance to do it, we just thought, we looked around Leeds, we found a place which was, at the time affordable and workable, and it's just grown from there. The scene, I think, I work at the College of Art too, and you can see people just over the last few years, before that I worked at Leeds City College, so the art students I've supported have been, if they're photography, they're looking at tintype, if they're graphic designers, they're looking at screen printing. And so people are sort of coming through and really exploring those different types of media. And you have to, as a librarian, you have to start facilitating that, getting the right books and stuff, and it sort of buries you into that as well. So it's been a really good process, both of those kind of areas, the shop and the library. I don't know what you think.
I was thinking about why Leeds and why we did what we did, and Matt was sort of saying about we wanted the shop to be almost a meeting place, or a point in the community where we could meet people and we could enrich our lives through the work of other people, and it's turned into more of a hub than we ever expected it to be, really. And maybe we felt that wasn't there, and it's encouraged other people to do more of the same thing, and the collaborative aspect of Makers in Leeds has been amazing in the last few years. It's just been incredible to watch people come together and work together on projects, commercial and purely creative. That's
I think Leeds is obviously like a really exciting place to study. Obviously I just graduated, but I found it to be like a really supportive city. It's got quite a small kind of, it's a growing city, but everybody kind of knows each other as well. Everybody supports you, looks after you, and even where I work now, I work in Duke Street, and even that is a scheme that's funded by my college, who still look after me even though I've graduated. And again, Duke Street is a sort of co-working space where you work with other people and you learn from each other. And I think a lot of it is kind of being proud of where you're from as well. I'm proud to be Northern, and I want to represent the North and show that design can be good no matter where you're from. And I've been to London, it's a bit intense anyway. I don't like getting pushed on a tube to work. Some people like it. I don't. I think each kind of regional area has its own kind of voice in terms of design. I think the North has its own unique voice, and you shouldn't just be drawn towards London because you can do great work up north, basically.
All the best designers from the North anyway. You've got Build Designers Republic, you've got Peter Saville, we've got Mark and Garrett. It's a strong design scene in the North anyway. I think often by the time people get to London, everything kind of gets diluted and all thrown in the mix anyway, and the agencies are the ones that take the names of the talented people rather than talented people growing within themselves.
In terms of the reception to the film, because you've been playing it, it's starting a kind of cinema run at the moment, but you've been taking it out to festivals, you've also played it in Europe.
We have, yeah, we did a sold-out screening in Copenhagen for some reason, 185 people, and it was brilliant. It had an amazing Q&A afterwards, and I have no idea why so many people in Copenhagen were interested, but they really were. We went out, and it was great fun. 3 of us, me, the co-director, and the producer, all stayed in one single hotel room, 2 of us in bunk beds and 1 in a single bed. Not that that's interesting, but it was brilliant, brilliant fun. I mean, we never really imagined it would have this kind of reach. And the great thing is the conversation that it's been inspiring, really. So, yeah. Come on, someone's got a question.
I gave you a
There you
minute.
go.
Okay, sorry, is it Aram? Sorry, Abbas, I'm sorry.
Call me that if you want.
I was just wondering, like, you said you just graduated. From your kind of perspective, how was it? Like, was it kind of scary to set your own thing up? Because I mean, if someone like me in the field, like as a student, like wanting to do the same thing as what you're doing now, like, how did you find that?
Do I need that? Is that better? When I first graduated, it felt like a massive mountain to climb. I mean, everybody's in a different situation, but when I first left, I was like, shit, now what do I do? But some people just kind of, it's like a duck to water when they graduate. For me, it took a bit of time to adjust. But some people get a job straight away. Some people choose to intern. I chose to intern. So I was a bit like a sort of design mercenary for a bit, just sort of like here and everywhere. But the people that I met helped me out along the way. Some of the kindest people I met were people that I did an internship for. So I don't know what you're planning on doing after you graduate, but I definitely recommend that. Even if sometimes you make loads of tea and don't get paid. It's the people you meet. I mean, like when I look back at where I am now, it's all because of people that I met who helped me out in small little ways to help me get where I am now. I mean, if you ask me in a year's time that, I'm almost going to be like, cough, chat shit. But it's just worked out that way. Things always happen quicker than you think as well. I mean, Anthony Burrell was in the documentary Work Hard and Be Nice to People. That's all he can do, really. He always looks out for the best. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but I mean, I wouldn't worry about the future, just focus on doing good work, enjoying it, meeting people, just seeing where it takes you. Because if you have like a certain goal, it never works out that way. It's always like things just change. Don't even know if I answered your question, I'll just be talking.
Can I add? I mean, I think that opens a really interesting question that's discussed in the film about the internet and about Adrian Johnson was talking about just well, there's quite a few of them talking about that idea of like how do you get noticed or how do you make it through. And I think there needs to be a conversation about how you define success for yourself, and that's so difficult to do when you are online. Because it's just like, oh my god, need to do more, post more, go more, look at me, and it's like relentless, and it is infinite. You know, I was thinking like, will I still be getting tweets after I die? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if I get hit by a bus, people are still liking something I just posted. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter, I've just been hit by a bus, but someone's like, oh, look at this great drawing of a cat. This is but I've started deleting Twitter and Instagram on my phone. I've got to confess that now, on a Monday, and then I download it again on a Friday. To give myself a little break, and I swear it's working. It's really, really good, and I think
internet weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the summer, I ditched it for the summer, and it felt really good because you discover your own voice again. I think that's the thing, is just stop looking at everyone else's work, because it can just totally destroy you. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this, it's a totally original idea, and then you search it, and you're like, fucking 100 people have done it, why won't you bother?
But it's also,
stay away from it.
It's the thing about print and paper and ink and craft and skill and making. Harry Newman was talking about like ideas, letting them live. And I think a good idea deserves a life. And if you look back at all the great graphic art, it's still a moment, immediate, just like an instant little idea, but it's been championed enough for people to, you know, like the Burrow poster, you know, like it's, you know, it's. Yeah. But these things, if you invest the time to make them into a thing, then it can last forever, you know. As opposed to just tweeting it and then brewing another one and then tweeting it.
I think you have to focus on more permanent. So do what you do and try and release yourself from like the bigger picture Because otherwise you're just going to always be doing stuff too quickly and always looking for other people to validate what you do. Just got a quick story to tell about the Anthony Burrell thing actually. It was a line he overheard from an old lady in a shopping queue in London. Someone said to her, how do you get where you're going to go in life? And she was like, work hard and be nice to people. And then he like worked with Adam to Ride to do the print. So he was like the mediator in between. And that's quite interesting because I think with regards to ideas, there's no such thing as a fully original idea. Just live within your own universe, forget the internet, and pull together, curate your idea of the world and work your style from there. And that's kind of what he did. He took what an old lady said and then a beautiful letterpress in Adams and made something that really is signed, is become his signature. So just forget the big noise because you will always depress yourself by, you'll need it to then go back and get an audience, but I think just forget it when you're trying to be creative because it will just stop you every time.
And I think that if we go back to that idea of locality in the city and region, I think there's another conversation to be had there about how I suspect as we move forward, especially in a place like Leeds, you think there's so many students here, there's a young kind of fairly solid economy in like a wave of professionals, and I suppose like I was going to say success, but it's successful in my eyes, but like the existence of what you guys do, your existence, is a testament to the fact that there is a need for this or there's a demand for this, and that can be built upon. And we're talking about commercial client-driven work, but also the idea that any kind of community can fund itself, if it becomes sustainable and supported. And it's why I think we need to start looking at graduates stepping away from waiting for the award or waiting for the online portfolio site or whatever to like give them that shoe up and just say, no, sod it. I'm going to make my own thing, print it myself, put it out myself, take it to a convention, find my own audience. I think everyone who's making is legitimate, as long as the work's smoking hot, which is the other conversation. Then it's there. People aren't going to pay attention if your work is smoking hot, amazing, and it's there and it's real, it's physical when you show it to them.
It happens to us all the time. People come into the store, it happened just today, but a guy came in about 2 weeks ago, he just showed us his work and it just lights you up sometimes, the joy of seeing something. Because you don't know what's going to come out of the portfolio. So he was quite shy and I think this is, he opened it up and it was just like, and he came in today and we're going to sort of try and sell some of his prints for him and work with him and his stuff was amazing. So, yeah.
The flip side of that I was going to say is that this sort of renaissance in making, there has to be a control filter on it, and I think there's a confusion between finalising the product and producing product as being a good thing in itself, and actually the work has to be really good. It doesn't, just because you screen printed it doesn't mean it's a great thing.
And because there's more stuff out there as well. I mean, the other side is, if I think, can you hold that actually? I think personally, we spend all of our life doing this. We do this is me making a magazine, this is me like doing some illustrations, this is me looking at pornography, I don't know, whatever. But it's all the same action, and I think for our own mental and physical health, we need to do things that stimulate cell memory. So whether you're screen printing, or you're drawing, or you're painting, I think for your own happiness, it's better to get away from doing the same task all day. You may as well be looking at a fucking Excel spreadsheet. I mean, yeah, I use Wacom all the time. Most of my work is digital, but I think like get away from the computer for your own mental health and your own ideas. Nobody's going to think of a new idea by always using Google. Go to a library, go to a boot sale, any of these things. But I think beyond the commerce side of it, I think for our own personal happiness, just getting away from the same motion, being associated with all activities, is really bad for you. I mean, that's my own personal opinion. So I think like beyond whether you're smoking hot or not, just do something for your own mental health, I think, because we're all going to end up with this digital fatigue where you stare at a screen at work and then you stare at a screen on the way home and you watch a film in bed. You're like, when did I last look at a fucking tree or a cloud? Like just make sure you spend enough time away from the screens. Maybe I'm an old Luddite, I don't know, but I just think that the real tactile world is where your real true inspiration will come from. Everything else is all put on the web. So when you look there, you're just looking at a dilution of their influence in the real world.
Go for a walk and listen to old ladies.
Absolutely, yeah, well there you go. Then you'll end up with a very, very good selling print, yeah.
I want to say that recently that there's been a lot more return to nature in a lot of creatives that we know. There's a lot of fell running, walking, and that kind of thing a time where you're not involved in that world, because it is abrasive and corrosive, and you just need to get them breathe. You have to breathe and look at the sky sometimes.
And you need both. I mean, digital is incredible. This film's 100% digital. We emailed everyone, we edited digitally, everything about it. And the fact that there's a DCP file up there that's wholly digital. So the only thing that's not digital is the work. But I think you need to get that balance, and I think that's what will keep you healthy and happy. If you wake up and you go on It's Nice Out, or you go on a blog and you're like, oh, this is what people are doing, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it all on the computer, and then I'm going to put it on the site. Don't expect anybody to notice it, because there'll be millions of other people doing it. Just find your thing, find your passion, and then work from there. I mean, I don't know. That's my belief anyway. Any more questions?
I just wanted to say, I think it's refreshing to see a film that kind of promotes the mix of both sort of analog and digital, because I think as young creatives we get told a lot, and I think the sort of overwhelming voice of people are saying all the time, yeah, well, it's nice that we've all got screens watching us everywhere, but we don't get a chance to make screen prints or like make physical things. But I think one of the good things for us as film creators at the minute is the fact that we get the opportunity to use both and do both. And it was nice. I think Pete Fowler made a point in the thing when he was talking about when the Impressionists started painting, they never had like acrylic paint, so to have paints and tubes was like a really cool thing. And I thought it was just nice to see a film that was kind of honest in the way of saying you do need both to work, because we get taught that a lot at our college, that it's important to use both pieces of media, but yeah.
But I think that's again, well, I'd like to just blame the internet, you can't just blame the internet for everything, but it's why I think right at the beginning of the film, did someone just say the word punk, or someone said
yeah.
You know, and like, it is a term that's so potent, and you return back to it, but I always go back to that idea of when you're so giddy with your friends, you want to pull your friends' trousers down. And I constantly try and channel that energy, because that's and I find it harder and harder, but like all those practitioners who we identify with on that screen are the ones who still have that voice, still have that willingness to play, and I think you learn that when you're not on screen. You learn that when you're hanging out with pals, or you're out in nature, but you also learn that when you've got a new medium in your hand. If you have that kind of skill and craft with the drawing tool, you have a confidence to work with the drawing tool, that's level one. Level two is like, right, okay, I have this skill, right, what am I going to say? How do I put something down? And I've had some people like slag off the notion of graphic art as a term, but I really champion it, because I think it talks about an aesthetic that's a media, and it's because if you talk about a generation that grew up in the 90s, the 80s and 90s, even the 2000s, we are hardwired to read things quickly. We don't want Renaissance images. We don't want in-depth, like really deep, like photographs with real depth. And people want something that gives them space and peace and just an idea, because that's what people want. And I think if you've got that idea, if you've got that voice, it's so powerful. I don't think Hattie Newman's reinvented the wheel, but I do really like her work and see immediately why people are into it, because it's just like, it's just, she's just been doing that over and over again, with the magazine covers, but, all respect to it.
But that impetus to do that with a magazine, it's there, isn't it? If you go down past the market, they've got these new hoardings, and the guy owns Cafe More, someone's drawn glasses on him, so that thing, you want to do it, but you just take it to that next level, stuff's brilliant,
I think the other thing, from an art school perspective, is that, and this is in particular for people who've done foundation or worked on foundation, and looking at how we silo young people out at 18 to say, right, off you go, you're going to be a fine artist, you're going to be an architect. And the fine art establishment has, I think, in the context of the art school in the last 10, 15 years, started to turn its back on figurative image making, or image making that it doesn't have to be applied commercially, but it's going to exist in a gallery. Let's talk about gallery context. And because of that, all these young people who have something to say, who give a shit, who want to make pictures, suddenly are told you're a graphic designer or you're an illustrator. And the numbers are massive, but I do think that the actual practice of graphic art and illustration need to be differentiated, because an illustrator is someone who kind of like, you are that carpenter / sculptor for hire, but the graphic artist is still someone who's driven by their own kind of, you know, impetus, their own thing they want to say, that are responding to the world like an artist. It's just they don't want their work to exist in that context, and that's okay. That's cool as fuck, man. Let's just get on with that. But I think if we use that term graphic art, then we can say, right, wicked, we've validated that practice, so let's just get on with it, and you don't have to worry about saying, oh, I need to be an artist now, or, you know, I need to get a client, you know. I think it's taken me 10 years to work that out, but I'm getting sick of, like, when people ring up and go, I want you to move that foot, I'm like, no, fuck you, the foot's you know, so I think that's why this film's important, because it just says graphic art is a thing, and it's important, and you can do that.
We've both gravitated towards graphic art as a medium from studying history of art, and we've both brought up during the sort of young British artist movement, sensation and all that, you know, and it was really important in the UK, the British art scene. And for us, we don't even really know what's going on in the British art scene anymore, because for us it's graphic art, it is illustration, it's moved for us towards that, and that's what makes us, you know, light up.
I studied fine art, and I was obsessed with YBAs. I went to Sensation, I was obsessed with the whole thing. And part of the reason why we did the film was because I realised that people were sick of this art that was elevated, that you couldn't buy, that you couldn't have at home, you couldn't have a print on your wall of these people. It would cost you a shitload. And so the idea was to show this scene that appeared from the bottom up, where people could be a part of and own something from this scene. And that was exactly the thing. I mean, I do adore this scene beforehand. I loved like 70s conceptualism and Joseph Beuys and Bruce Nauman, but this was all untouchable. And the scene that's happened since is people making careers for themselves, and that's what graphic art is really. It's like you have your own, you're driven by your own ideas, but you can also create something commercial from that, and that's it. It definitely bridges the gap in between. And who wants to be owned by a gallery your whole life anyway, you know?
And I think it's really worth recognising that point about selling your print and someone taking it home and hanging it on the wall. It's incredible. Well, you know, you know, and I often say to my students about how my two grandparents, one of them had a Lowry on their bed on their living room wall because they were working class from Manchester, and the other had like a Yorkshire Dales landscape painting because they were farmers from the Dales. You know, but that's about their region, their locality, their community. Now, I didn't grow up working the land, you know, or working in the mills, but I grew up listening to music, to going to gigs, and engaging in popular culture. So therefore, my walls have got graphic art on them. They've got big posters, they've got a screen print. You know, that's the thing that's happening. And it's great to hear something like here as well.
Homogenisation, yeah.
Three levels.
When you're starting out, how do you get over not thinking what you're doing is good enough?
You don't. You have to just promise yourself to keep going and work through it. But I swear I get it all the time still. In fact, I worked on something today. One thing I think is really worth noting is, and it goes back to this idea of craft and skill. I started a job today. I got commissioned a while ago, a really small thing for a magazine in Germany, and I knew I had to do it today, and I had like 6 hours. And as always, the first hour I was like, oh my god, I can't draw. How did I get this job? This is not going to happen. Oh my god, I got 5 hours now, brilliant. But it's like you have to warm up, you've got to work through it, you know, and you've got to make a load of bad drawings and then throw them aside and make some slightly better ones, and your hands warming up and throw them aside. But it is a craft and a skill, and that's it. And you will get to a finished piece of work when it needs to be finished, and that's what happened on that little journey you went on. And every time you do that and you go on that journey, you get a little bit more confident, a little bit more self-assured, but the fear never disappears, I don't think. If it does, then you're probably making boring work.
But you have to keep pushing. I think you have to keep, like you do a bad drawing and you know if you come back tomorrow it's going to be less bad. And nobody, it's that 1,000 hours theory, 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours to be an absolute professional. Apparently Nick Cave, when he wakes up in the morning, he won't say to himself, oh, I don't feel like making music today. He will get up, he puts a suit on, walks downstairs, out his front door, and he's got a studio in the basement, and he goes down there, and regardless, he fucking hits it. He just tries all day. So, like, just think of it, like, don't be whimsical about it, no, maybe I won't do this today because yesterday was so bad. Just go back down and just keep doing it. Some days it's going to be awful, some days it's going to be great, but that's just how you get there, you know? I think most people who do it as a profession, they've gotten to a point, like watching John Bergman draw, we were there, we were mesmerised by that.
as a guy who's he's done it so much, he's just comfortable with doing it. He was just looking at us most of the time doing this. It's just brilliant. And that's the thing, it's just practice. Practice and self-belief. You'll weed yourself out of the game at some point by saying, actually, this isn't for me. Every day it's bad, so I'm not going to do this. Or you will say, fuck it, I'm going to make myself brilliant at this. I think that's all it is. It's about just constantly going back to it. I think when you take the time to create something that's physical, and you're not just going to create something that maybe takes you 2 hours, maybe takes you 5 hours, and you just put it online. When you have that confidence to make something real and then to show it to people, it takes a lot of, I do a lot of screen prints, it takes a lot of money and time and resource to actually bring something from the computer into the real world. You're like confirming its real existence. And I think that's why people do relate so well to things in the physical realm. We had lots of outtake footage, and some people were saying that the search for newness kind of destroys longevity in a lot of things. And so when you have something, when you have a new post every hour, how valid is that work? When you go onto Pinterest and you like something or you put it in your board, but no information about the artist or the work, like you're no longer engaging with it more than just an aesthetic or a layout kind of sense or a compositional sense or the idea. I think, like, just a slight aside, I've got 2 kids, and when I was younger, my mum and my stepdad used to smoke in the car, and I've never smoked. It's disgusting. I just, like, it put me off. And now, me and my wife are constantly staring at our phones. Our kids just, they detest phones. I mean, my kid is addicted to the iPad, but I think that to think that what we're in now will be forever is the wrong way to think about it. I think that there's a rejection of these things, and we'll see a new order sort of slowly fall into place with the way we interact with digital, physical objects. It's just all so big and new still. But even with Twitter, I mean, I signed up to Twitter in 2006, I think, and it was amazing. I was speaking to people who were my heroes just immediately, and now it just feels like it's too much on there. It's like MySpace. Remember we used to use MySpace? I mean, well, maybe I'm an old man, but you know, Tom was your best friend, and Arctic Monkeys and Lily Allen could get a whole audience just by being on a website. You can't do that now. There's a lot of saturation there. So I think when you've got a point of difference, a physical object that you can put in someone's hand, like with you guys, bringing it in, and you're amazed by it. You're more likely to buy something when you see it on a wall in a gallery as well, instead of a small, you know.
We were adjacent to be online. When we started, we just wanted to be bricks. We wanted to be a shop, and so people could come in. Basically, we'd be, you know, we were at a shop this where we could hang out and drink coffee at the counter.
And get high lovely inks from the magazines.
And box, you know, and people smell the magazine. We should put a sign up saying, please smell the magazine. You know? And they smell great. Like some of the mags just smell amazing. And they're so well printed and they're beautiful and they're beautifully laid out. And so they kind of become, so many people said it, apart from Sam Arthur, he said he'd throw a magazine away.
Yeah, although he did say that it has to be worth printing for them to print it. So it's just the dissemination of information I think he talks about. I know every line he's talking about. Me and the rest of the crew communicate sometimes via lines in films. But yes, I mean that's the thing. I hope we answered your question. That like, if you really care about it, then you'll make it something real. If it's a flippancy, a moment, then you'll just slap it up online. And maybe people will love it. Maybe that will take your career somewhere anyway. But when you really love something, you want to then make it real, bring it into the physical realm.
I'm going to have to make that the last sentence, because that's it.
Okay. We've got Legend in 5 minutes.
Yeah, quite a different film. But thank you so much, you guys, for coming. Thank you guys for coming, and hope that you continue this discussion after this film. Like any film is always just a starting point for a conversation, and I hope that this has sparked lots of thoughts for you guys, and thank you.